Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Race number 9 at Laurel on Saturday is the Grade 3 Frank J. DeFrancis Memorial Dash. Let's take a look at this field of sprinters going 6 furlongs. $250,000 is the purse. The one they're all going to have to beat is the number 4. Whitmore, a multiple graded stakes winner this year. Last seen third is the favorite in the Grade 2 True North. And we were talking about this before we came on the air, and Whitmore acted like a horse in the True North that might have needed a break, and he got one.
Yeah, I think if you're willing to go back to him in this race at a short price, and there are reasons to go back to him, that might be the biggest one. He just felt like a horse who maybe needed a little time off, and so the, whatever it is, 2-month break between the True North and the DeFrancis could really have done this horse some good. He was third in the DeFrancis, or in the True North last time, by default, really. I mean, he was never involved in that race, never came close, just sucked up for third at the end. And it had to be a little disconcerting. You watch the Maryland Sprint, he's trying to get out through the turn. He still managed to overcome that and win, but it felt like maybe things weren't going great for him, and he really didn't do any running at all last time.
And in the True North, he was trying to drift out on the turn, and Ricardo Santana was trying to correct him, and then he came with the run, and on class alone, I think, kind of ran third in that race, where Roy H. Was the winner. He came back to run a troubled second in the Bing Crosby with a 98 Beyer speed figure. Even a subpar Whitmore might be too much for this field, however.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, and if you're disappointed in his last race as I was, fine. He's still 7 for 8 sprinting in his career, and he's run plenty of races that are just fast enough to be really hard on this field. But I think I still have some concerns about where he is in his form cycle right now. And I'm not terrified to bet against him as the favorite.
Awesome Banner, Grade 1 placed in his most recent effort. That was the Alfred G. Vanderbilt handicap at Saratoga, and no match for runaway winner El Deal. I just didn't think much of this year's Vanderbilt field. Awesome Banner ran fine. No complaints about that race. It's just that he's a 90-94 Beyer horse, and a lot of times that's not good enough to win a graded stake like this.
Yeah, true enough. I mean, give him all the credit in the world for getting a Grade 1 placing last time, but also realize that he was second in that race by 8 lengths. And just to put it into a little perspective, that was Jim Dandy Day, gold rail at Saratoga. This horse just sucked along the rail the entire way and got up for second at the end. He actually didn't even run that well last time.
Chubbalicious, the number 6, perhaps a little bit dirtied up. The last race was at 1 1/16. I don't really think that's his distance. The time before that, a win against Jersey Breds at Monmouth. The time before that, a sloppy track. If you go back to the last time he was in Maryland, it was the Fireplug Stakes way back in January. It was one of his better performances. He finished in a race that produced 3 next out winners, including one of the better sprinters in the country, an Imperial Hint.
Yeah, he ran pretty well that day to be second best. I guess the question with him is, do you really feel like he's a graded stakes quality sprinter? Because so far in his career, he just hasn't been. This isn't the toughest Grade 3 in the world, but if a horse like Whitmore shows up with his best race, this horse is in big trouble.
If anyone's going to improve a horse off of Jamie Ness, I guess it's going to be Kevin Patterson, who wins 51% in 2017, and he took Blue Moon Ace off of a 94 Beyer speed figure win for 30, stepped him up into a stakes race around 2 turns at Timonium, and he won with a 99 Beyer speed figure. Looking at the races at Timonium that day, it seemed like you wanted to be on the lead and on the rail, which makes me think if I had to take one of the 2 out of that race, maybe it would be the late running Struth.
Yeah, I sort of agree with that. But we'll see what happens with both of these horses, because I think they both really have to improve to win this race. Blue Moon Ace, I mean, I don't really know what to say about his trainer. Certainly he ran well last time, and the race did come back pretty fast. So, listen, it seems like this trainer can do anything. Maybe he can improve him again.
Let's talk about our top selections for the Grade 3 Frank J. DeFrancis Memorial. First time form U.S. pace projector first. Let's throw up that, because it's very key to this race, I think. And Favorite Tail, the number 7, we know is brilliantly fast when he's right. He was third in the Breeders' Cup Sprint in 2015. The problem is he's only raced 3 times since then. What did you think of his return to the races most recently? Because there's one thing that he's still got, that's his speed.
Yeah, he really does, and it could really play well in this kind of race, because you start going through this field, one after the other, and there's just not that much real sprint speed in this race. He has sprint speed in spades. I mean, he's just supposed to come out of there running and go to the front. They did that with him last time, although it felt like off of the really long layoff in that race, Pennington was sort of being a little conservative with him. He had an easy time making the lead, but they took a pretty big hold of this horse and didn't really let him run off early in that race. And then he just got outdueled in the stretch by the man, and if nothing else, how good's the man been? I mean, this horse has won 7 races in a row, and he was obviously in really good form, while Favorite Tail was off of a very long layoff in that race. I thought, all things considered, as a starting off point off a long layoff, This horse ran fine.
And if he scoots clear, according to Timeform US, with that blue bar favoring horses on or near the early lead, he might be tough. I think he's probably going to be sent out of there. I'd like to see Mr. Jordan, the 2, a bit more aggressively handled than where we have him in Timeform US. It's quite possible that he can't go at 6 furlong speed with some of these other horses. I know he can't go at 1 1/8, and that's where they put him last time out in the Philip H. Island. It was a 4-horse field. It was a solid enough pace for the distance, and Frankie Pennington was very conservative with him turning into the stretch, figuring, I don't know how I'm going to get 1 1/8 with him.
That's
and the perfect trip, Just Call Kenny, was able to beat him, and then Eagle, the favorite, ran second. His race 2 back was good at 7. I think he's probably a 7 furlong, 1-turn mile horse, but at this level, maybe it's 6 with a forward move. If the pace is not so fast, he can be on top of the speed favorite tail turning into the stretch. I don't think he'll be 12 to 1 in the morning line, but if he is, I'll take a shot.
Yeah, I can see him getting more forward than this just because there's not that much pace. You know, when you watch his races, he really doesn't have sprinter speed. He has more router speed, and I think that will work against him at 6 furlongs. But if he can get forward in this race, he's clearly talented enough to beat these horses. I just don't know what kind of trip he's going to get in this race. You know, we'll see. If he can get the right trip, he can win.
Let's see our picks one more time for the Frank J. DeFrancis Memorial Dash. Mr. Jordan, not the most consistent horse in the world, which is why I would need a price for him. But I think he is in sneaky good form. Distance was a little bit far for him last time out. But you really think that Favorite Tail can steal this? We will, of course, admit that there is one horse to beat. That is Whitmore. You're going to go 7, 4, 3, and 5. I'm going to go 2, 4, 5, and 3 in the Grade 3 Frank J. DeFrancis Memorial Dash. Race number 9 at Laurel. Big card at Laurel on Saturday. Approximate post time 5:10 Eastern. Best of luck.